Okay, I'm making this video to show my daughter how to make a castor oil pack rather than having to buy. I have different brands of castor oil, but what you need is a good quality brand of castor oil. Make sure it's hexane free. I'm not sure on here where it says it is, but I know that I read that it was, or I wouldn't have bought it. There it is. Hexane free. This one's a couple of years old and it's still good. If you keep it where it's not going to be constantly hot on it, it'll be okay. And this is just cotton flannel that I got at one of the big fabric stores. And it was washed, and I've used it. In the video or wherever I found the info years ago, it says buy several, and once you've used this a few times, throw it away because you can't clean it. Wrong. I put some water in a stainless steel pot on my stove and just a little bit of laundry detergent and let it boil. Poured it out and rinsed the water out and put it back on, let it boil a little longer. And then I rinsed it really well in my sink. And since I don't have a clothesline outside, which I'm praying for one soon, I hung it in my washroom and let it hand dry. Do not dry your flannel material with fabric softener. They're just not absorbent. But I had this whole thing, and I don't think I need one this big, and then I wrapped a trash bag around my middle where I put it on the liver. So what I'm going to do is just cut this and see how that works. So I'm going to cut and show how to do that, which I think everyone's got sense enough to cut, but, well, obviously I'm making this for my daughter, so, but here it is. I'm going to cut this about 8 inches off of this. And this is just my kitchen scissors. All of my good scissors are out in my she shed, as some folks would call it. I call it the pit, and if you don't know why I call it that, it's because tons of money has gone into it, and money goes down into the pit. Okay, it's been cut, and if you're finicky, if you wanted to, you could run some stitches across here where it doesn't fray. But if I get 10 or 15 uses out of this and it starts fraying, you know, I've got more than my money's worth out of it. Okay, and I have some left over, but I'm going to fold this like this. And I'm kind of finicky. You don't have to be this finicky. Okay, fold it over, kind of like that. And my other one I kept in a big old Ziploc bag, and I only used it one time because life got in the way. And it stayed in the refrigerator drawer for 2.5 years. Yep, almost 3 years. I'm going to do this and use a lot less castor oil than what that video said use. And I'm just going to store it in this because I have a drawer in my refrigerator that I can just stick it in. There's a separate drawer that I can open instead of opening the refrigerator. I'm going to put it in here, but I want this is probably maybe 5 by, say 8 now. But I'm going to do it this way right here. And when I put it on my skin, I'm going to put the folded part to the inside of the skin so that when I wrap it and then I pull the wrap off, it won't just totally take this whole thing out. Because when we're through, we're just going to store this back into this. Put the lid on it, burp it, burp, and stick it in the drawer. And this should be, you should use this probably every day at the same time, because as you'll watch other videos, it does help you to go potty. Just the nice word about it. It does help you to go potty, but just take it back out each day. What I'm going to do is use a plate. Excuse the noise while I get a plate out of my cabinet. Use a plate, put it right here, and then I'm going to take the castor oil, and I'm going to, I guess I should measure it. I'm not a measurer. Okay, this is a 2 tablespoon measurer here. So I'm going to use almost 2 tablespoons, not quite. And then I'm just going to drizzle it across the middle. I think I'm going to stop with that, which is maybe 1 tablespoon, because that seems like an awful lot of castor oil. Looks like a lot. And then I'm going to fold this and dab it like this. And I know you can buy castor oil packs, which they seem rather expensive. This castor oil, it doesn't have a price on it, but it wasn't that expensive. And you can get a lot of use out of this one bottle. But I'm dabbing it, and I'm hoping that that will be enough. If not, I'll come back later after I've used this, because I'm going to use this whenever I get through with this video. I was lazy today and didn't get up until late, which is extremely unusual for me. So I kind of got sidetracked and backtracked, but I am going to use this castor oil pack for weeks. Maybe not the same one. I'll probably add more castor oil, but I'm going to use faithfully a castor oil pack on my liver cover, and then I'm also going to make one to put on my thyroid, because I have thyroid issues. But I'm going to try this and see how well it does. Feels like that's pretty good. And I have horrible cuticles. I never had good fingernails. I always bit my fingernails down into the quick when I was a kid and didn't stop biting them until I was in my mid-30s. So even though I don't bite them anymore, maybe once in a while when I'm sitting there watching an intense movie. I'm going to put castor oil on these and put my gloves on. And if I feel brave enough to rotate the camera, and I'm in my old work clothes, raise my shirt up and put the castor oil pack on. And what you can do is either use a garbage bag, but I'm not. This is my oldest towel. It's probably 25 or 30 years old, and it's extremely thin, which will be good because it won't absorb a lot of the oil. Or today I'm going to try this plaster wrap, and we're not supposed to use plastic in our life, and for the most part I don't. But this plastic is BPA free, so don't yell at me. It's BPA free, and no, it doesn't go in the microwave. It can go in the microwave, but I don't put it in the microwave. I don't microwave things in plastic. But that's what I'm going to use. Then I'm going into my office and turn my heating pad on and put my heating pad across the area where I did this. Put this pack and turn it on and sit for 30 minutes and do whatever. Best thing to do is do it first thing in the morning when you've got your free time, which I take a devotional in the mornings anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So that's when I'm going to be doing it, and I'm going to make myself get up earlier tomorrow and every day, because that's the thing you need to do, is be consistent. Some will say you can wear this overnight, but I don't want all this castor oil on my sheets. And the ones that you buy, you tie them on your body, and they sleep with them on. But I don't think I could tolerate sleeping with something tied around my waist. But if you can try it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm thinking that I may need a little more castor oil, so I'm going to take, and I didn't even use a tablespoon because there's at least a tablespoon in here. I'm just going to use all of this and just smear it everywhere. Okay, now, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my dandelion tea mixed with peppermint, and I can't wait until the springtime when the weather is warmer so I can gather my own dandelion, and I'm growing peppermint. This is store-bought tea bags, which I'm trying to do as much natural stuff as I can, and everyone should. And dandelion tea is supposed to be a good thing for the liver also. But I think this is a pretty good amount. Alright, what I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to turn the camera. And if this looks horrible, once I view the video, I'll edit this part out and you won't see it. Okay. Let me see here. I don't. Okay, I'm not even sure if that showed up because I couldn't see the backside of my phone. So if it didn't, I apologize. But I'm going to put this on my cuticles, put my little rubber gloves on, which I reuse these over and over and over. I don't get a fresh pair of rubber gloves every time I choose to do something. I just pull them off and hang them with a little clothespins that's stuck to the side of my fridge and reuse them. So don't rail at me about using rubber gloves because they do get recycled over and over and over. I'll post this video on YouTube. If you're interested, you can watch. If not, that's okay too. Be blessed. God is good. Amen.